I got to be honest, man. Probably the worst kind of person in American politics today are white liberal propagandists. Actually, it's not just today. I mean, Malcolm X, he had some really, really good quotes about this. But these people are just twisted, man. They are twisted people. And George Stephanopoulos, he may very well be the absolute worst. And Byron Donalds went on the Sunday morning show yesterday, and basically all George wanted to talk about was Kamala's race, not her race for president, her pigment, her color. No policy, nothing important, just identity politics.
And you just repeated the slur again. If it doesn't matter, why do you all keep questioning her identity? She's always identified as a black woman. She is biracial. She has a Jamaican father and an Indian mother. She's always identified as both. Why are you questioning that?
You got to pay real close attention to what these people say and how they actually say it. You know, George says that because Kamala's dad is from Jamaica, then that just magically, automatically just makes her black. George probably thinks all Jamaicans look and sound like Bob Marley, I guess. I mean, this is how deep these people go. This is how deep they actually think. But just so everyone's on the same page, you know, Jamaica was colonized by the British in 1655. They captured it from Spain, who I think started ruling it in 1494, whenever the liberals' favorite colonizer, Christopher Columbus, came to town. Jamaican is not a race, it's a nationality, but George thinks Jamaican means black because that's just what white liberals think.
Well, George, first of all, this is something that's actually a conversation throughout social media right now. There were a lot of people who are trying to figure this out. But again, that's a side issue, not the main issue. The main issue.
Sir, 1 second. You just did it. You just did it again.
Of the United States.
Why do you insist on questioning her racial identity?
You want me to talk?
I want you to answer my question.
George, now that you're done yelling at me, let me answer. He talked about it on the stage yesterday in Atlanta for 2 minutes? He spent more than 35, 40 minutes going after her record, talking about how radical of a senator that she was. She was the most liberal senator in the United States, in the United States Senate. That is a fact. He talked about the job that she did as vice president of the United States, a job, I will add, which has been a failure for the American people. I know you guys like to glom on to this that he talks about in jest or in a serious manner for about a minute or so, but what you do not cover is the litany of failures of Kamala Harris. That's what you're not covering, George.
That's exactly right, man. And honestly, that's really the whole genius of this manufactured controversy with Donald Trump. You know, people like George Stephanopoulos, they think they have the upper hand. They're going to keep inviting Republicans on, and they're going to keep trying to put them on the defensive. But just like the video I did with J.D. Vance on the border, every single time they do it, it's going to get turned into a serious policy discussion because it's a really easy question to ask these people. Why is it that you guys want to talk about her color, but not her policies? And they can't answer it. You know, Donald's framed it perfectly. He said, this is just the conversation that people are actually having. And that's why Donald Trump brought it up. And he's right. And honestly, it's the only topic that Kamala Harris has even given an interview on.
What 4 words would immediately let you know about who I am? It's not in the vocabulary.
Is that when people question your blackness, you were on that bus, you were part of the civil rights movement, but the struggle is convincing people that this is a strong black woman who lives a strong black life, and why is there any question?
You're right, it's frustrating. There was this one journalist who said to me, I'm doing this interview, and he says, well, you have family members that went to Stanford and Harvard, but you chose to go to Howard. You know, elite schools like Stanford, but you chose to go to Howard. Now, you know, I was ready to hang this thing up.
Right.
I was about to go off, which would not have been cool, because I'm trying to get elected.
Yeah, but you went to Howard.
But they went to these elite schools, and you went to, and I said, well, you do know that Howard University is the Mecca. Like,
exactly.
Just put that, you know, let's put that in its place. And so the frustration, to be honest with you, is that, you know, sometimes I'm like, look, I am not running to be Black History Professor. I'm running to be president.
Right.
And you all need to figure this out. And you need to figure out the diaspora.
I think the diaspora is exactly what people are trying to figure out. But really, I mean, maybe Kamala can actually explain it herself, because if you're going to make some immutable characteristic essentially the only reason that people should vote for you, and honestly, we have to assume that that's exactly what she's doing, because she hasn't actually talked about policy. She still hasn't put any actual policies on her website. if that's the case, then really it's for her to explain, not for us to figure out, right? But that's what they want us to do. They want people talking about what she is and what Donald Trump said, because the last thing she or people like George want to talk about is actual policy. They can't do it.
So questioning somebody's racial identity for a couple minutes is okay?
George, I'm going to tell you again, he brought it up. AP is the one that wrote the headline when she first came in to the United States Senate. Didn't talk about her being black, talked about her being the first Indian American senator. AP brought that up. I mean, George, we could have this conversation for the entire segment, but none of this matters to the American people. What matters to the American people is, are we going to have the same policies of the Biden-Harris administration that has been destructive of the American people, or are we going to have the policies of the Trump administration, which put America first, had low inflation, prosperous Americans, no matter your race, no matter your color, no matter your creed, and a foreign policy that kept America safe? Those are the facts that truly matter, because this issue is going to come and go. The lives of the American people is what's going to remain, and that's what matters more than anything else.
If it doesn't matter, I don't understand why you keep on repeating it, why the president keeps on repeating it, why those introducing the president yesterday
George,
keep on
actually,
repeating
I'm
it.
not the one who keeps repeating it. George, you're the one that's bringing it up now. That's you.
You've done it,
I understand why
sir.
you
You've done
bring
it.
up.
You've done it
Because,
3 times. Every single answer
George,
you gave me. Now let me finish, sir.
George,
Every single answer you gave, you repeated the slur.
Asked me, George. That's why I'm pushing back on you now.
They are the ones bringing it up, man. And it really is the same old story. It's the same tired tactic. You know, this has always been the case. I mean, Donald Trump can give an 8-hour speech, and the media, you know, people like George, they're going to discount and ignore every single bit of substance there is in the speech and get hyper-focused on 18 seconds here or 18 seconds there. You know, when Donald Trump jokingly said he'd be a dictator for a day so he could close the border and drill, baby, drill, they ignored everything to do with immigration, everything to do with energy, and they just played on a loop dictator day one. And same thing when he said that, you know, if he wasn't elected, it'd be a bloodbath for the auto industry because Harris would allow cheap Chinese electric cars to flood the market. All they played on a loop was bloodbath. Donald Trump promises a bloodbath if he's not elected. They're doing the same thing here, but people see it. People actually see it. People are starting to get it. And people like George, they're becoming powerless.
George, you asked me the question 3 times. I responded, but I'm...
And every single time you repeat the slur. That is exactly my point. You simply can't say that it's wrong.
George, so then what you're saying, and I want to get off this topic because it's not the only thing that's going on. But George, now you're saying that AP is the one that slurred Kamala Harris, because those are the facts. You can go to the internet and look at the clips, George, if you want to, or we can talk about this now. I prefer to talk about the future of our country because the American people are struggling. The American people do need serious policy decisions to be made, and they need serious leadership on the world stage. Kamala Harris has not proven that she can do that. Donald J. Trump has proven that he can do that.
AP did not say that Kamala Harris is not black. She is biracial. She is Indian. She is black. You continue to repeat the fact that you continue to repeat the slur. I don't understand why you and the president do it, but it's clear you're not going to say that it's wrong. And you've now established that for our audience.
Republicans are done getting backed into imaginary corners and apologizing for whatever thing the left pretends to be outraged about, right? No one cares about any of that. You know, George is not actually serving his real viewers because, to Byron's point, you know, many of his viewers are actually struggling, and all of his viewers deserve candidates that actually focus on policies that are going to protect them and improve their lives at the very, very least, right? They deserve policies that, at the very least, they deserve policies that aren't going to make their lives more difficult, right? But George doesn't care about any of that. I mean, he cares about serving the machine. I mean, don't forget, this is a guy that made his career as a Clinton attack dog. You know, he does not care about anything other than Democrat power. Identity politics and this bogus racial division is just their most recent and most consistent trick, right? I like this interview, man. We need more people just like Byron Donalds getting out and getting in front of these people because he's right. You know, none of this actually matters at all. But that's just my take, man. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. If you haven't already, be a part of our growth. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe. Most importantly, share the channel. I'll see you in the next one.